Hello everyone, and welcome to an exclusive Dogman Sasquatch Oklahoma Encounters. My name is Lance Hightower. You're going to hear a special episode that Dave and I did this past week. Unfortunately, on the past episodes, we've discussed a lot about rogue dogs, feral dogs, dog attacks occurring within city limits, within our parks, and on country trails, out and about. Well, unfortunately, it's happened to one of our own team members, Wiley Dave. Last week, Dave was attacked in his own neighborhood right here in Tulsa city limits, only a few hundred yards from his house. He walks around the neighborhood walking his dogs, and just in the blink of an eye, a dog came out of the dark between two homes and attacked his little dog viciously. Fortunately, Dave was packing a .45 semi-automatic that he always carries. Had it not been for Dave carrying that firearm, Dave probably would have been mauled. He may not be here. This dog was not going to quit. It attacked his dog, and Dave was knocked down, and it attacked him. So we were very fortunate that he was not injured, a little bruised up, banged up, but Dave was wanting to talk about this and how important it is. Regardless of what your beliefs are, whether you where you're at, if you're in a country that you cannot pack a firearm, or whether you disagree about carrying a concealed carry firearm, we're just saying this. Please have a plan. Carry something that you can defend yourself. But honestly, when you hear the story, I'm not quite sure what you could have done in the situation except take this dog out of commission here. So the audio is a little soft. We apologize ahead of time there, so please turn up your phone or iPad. I was using some equipment that I normally don't use, so it's a little soft. I do apologize, so we have to turn it up. So let's go right to the conversation that Dave and I had about his dog attack here within the city limits of Tulsa this past week.
Okay, when I called you, it was a couple hours before you got back to me because you was kind of busy. But in that length of time, all this other stuff had occurred. Monday night, I have two little schnauzer dogs. I have one little kind of toy schnauzer. She's real small, a female. And I have a male that's a little bit bigger. And they're brother and sister. And my sister has a lead fixed up for them where you have two leads on one, where you can walk two dogs on one lead.
Right.
Well, if you take both of them at the same time, it's a free for all because they're always tangled up.
Right.
They're just wrestling and they're so excited, to get to go out and run around and have me walk them and go through the neighborhood that they're checking out everything and they're always tied up and crossed up. So I've got to where I take them one at a time. So I took the little female first and we went around this whole block with no problem. Everything was cool. This is about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. It was dark.
And this is your neighborhood?
It was about, as a matter of fact, it was 200 yards from my house.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so I took Izzy. She's the little female. I took her and took her back to the house, and I let Sarah unhook her and got something to drink, and I hooked Momo up, and that's what we call him. His name's Marshall, but we call him Momo. But anyway, we hooked him up, and so me and him take off from the driveway, and we're going down the same street that we just went down. And I get about 100 yards from the house, and there's a guy mowing his yard out there in the dark. I don't know how you could see but he was mowing. But anyway.
Well, it's been hot.
Yeah, so he must have had some good night vision or something. But anyway, we're walking down the street, and I've got him on the lead, and he's right beside me, and I kind of got ahead of him a little bit. He stopped to smell something there in the road, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, all I see is a brown and black flash, and it's just like wham, and it's on right then. This chow dog comes out of nowhere between these two dark houses, between the houses, and attacks him in the road. And he went to squealing and hollering. Of course, this dog outweighs him by 50 pounds or better.
Right.
And he's just biting the hell out of him all over the place, So I had the 45. I always carry that 1911, so I pulled it out. And, the first instinct was just going to try to knock him off. But I cracked him over the nose with that Wilson Combat. And, it cracked. I heard it smack him, and it didn't even faze him. He just pressed home the attack. He was just biting the hell out of Marshall. So I kind of jumped back a little bit, and then I kicked him in the side, and didn't phase him. I lifted him off the ground. It didn't phase him.
Really?
So I kicked him again, and there's a lot of gravel and stuff there. So I kicked him so hard that I lost my footing, and I went down in the street. Well, when I hit the ground, they'd moved over to my side, and I hit him in the nose again with a slide. Well, this time he come after me, So I kicked him off once, and he went back to biting Marshall again. So I took on the corner, right at the edge of that gun on the magazine release, there's that steel magazine well around there is kind of sharp,
Right.
So I hit him with the butt of the gun right above the ear and the top of the head, and he got off of Marshall and come after me. And I'm on the ground. And he's lunges at me, and I caught him the first time right between his legs where the hair is, where his legs is, holding him back. I couldn't believe he didn't bite my arm. He was trying to get my throat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I throwed him back, and him and Marshall, he bit Marshall again. And then he let go of him and come after me. He was on both of us, So he comes after me the second time, and it was just automatic. I didn't even know I'd done it. I just cocked the gun, and boom, I shot him and blew him off of me. And I killed him right there in the street. He went down and got up and run 20 yards and made it back to his house and died under the van in the garage.
Wow.
So it blew a hole in him the size of a coffee cup, and he still made it to the house. This is point blank range.
And this is like, what, a 70-pound dog?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is right in the middle of Tulsa, in a major neighborhood,
Well, this was what was mind-blowing to me, is that we've had this conversation on 2 previous episodes at least, talking the importance, and we've noted some people that unfortunately have lost their lives in city limits, not necessarily in the country. And here it is, and this happened to you, and this is why we wanted to get on, folks, and let you know it's just not exclusive to Tulsa. It's at other places here. And Dave and I have spoke about this, how animals are becoming more fearless of humans. And what's your opinion if this would have been a child outside, or someone jogging, or an elderly person?
They wouldn't have a chance. They'd be dead. If I didn't have that gun, to fight him off, you're not going to keep fighting that dog when you're down like that. You can't get away from them. You turn, they're going to bite you in the back or the neck or wherever they can get you. And I couldn't. The thing is not to take your eyes off of them, because if you do, they're going to lock on somewhere. He tried to get me in the kneecap once, but I jerked back and he just got my pants, But that's when I hit him with the gun, and I couldn't believe he took that hit in the nose. I know I had to partially break his muzzle, because it just cracked like 2 2x4s going together. But what shocked me was when I shot him and blew him off of me, nobody came outside.
Well, that's what you said.
The guy kept mowing his yard. This is totally in the dark now. This is nighttime. There's no light. I can't see. Of course, I got night sights on the gun,
Right.
And I really didn't use the sights. Of course, that, combat shooting, I just shoot like I was trained to do. And I don't even remember cocking the gun. All I remember is, my brain told me it's time to shoot, and I did it, and that was it. So if I hadn't done it, he'd have tore my throat out. But when it was over with, I got up and I was limping around there in the street and called my sister, and she brought the truck down and come and got me. And we loaded Marshall up and got him down there, wrapped him up with a towel. And then Sarah and I come back, and we had flashlights and was looking for the dog. And I called 911. Get this. And we tell them, hey, my sister said, my brother shot a dog in the street with a .45 and killed it. We're looking for the dog. And the 911 dispatcher says, is your brother injured? She said, I don't think so. She said, is the dog dead? And my sister said, yes. She said, okay, don't worry about it. Everything's good. Click. She hung up. Nobody's coming.
Really?
Yeah. So it just so happened there's a Tulsa police officer lived right next door, one house down, where I shot this dog. And at first I thought, well, I'm going to have to wake this guy up and tell him I've killed this dog,
Right.
Well, it wasn't him. It wasn't his dog. It was the lady next door. And she was an elderly lady, and I felt really bad after I did this, because it was kind of her kid, but this is a stray she'd taken in.
Oh, I see.
And, I didn't want to kill nobody's dog. I didn't want to kill her dog. But, when they're lethal like that, you have no choice.
Absolutely.
Just like I said, remember I told you, once they start the attack, you're not going to stop them.
Right.
It's going to be, if somebody can't get it off, you're going to have to kill the dog. That's it, and that's what I done. So the officer, me and him, man, he come over there and he said, you're the one that shot the dog? I said, yeah. I said, I come looking for him because I wanted to find out who owned it. He said, well, it lives right there, you know. And that's where he went. He made it to the garage and died. So, but they started questioning me, you know. You carry that gun all the time? I said, if I leave that door, I've got it.
You say they was questioning
yeah, he asked me, he said, you carry
Tulsa?
that? Yeah, because I was carrying a Wilson Combat 1911. That's a big-ass gun, you know. And he goes,
yeah, it's especially
he
firearm.
goes, you always carrying that big thing? I said, well, yeah, it's made for what it's made for. And he said, well, not very many people carry a full house 45 like that. I said, that's what I've shot all my life. I've trained with it, you know, so I feel comfortable with that. He said, well, you did the job. He said, most people couldn't have got a shot off like that. But he said, I could tell you were able to shoot in the dark, especially, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a lethal kill shot, you know. And he said, well, the dog has been known to attack other animals, but it's not never attacked a person. I said, it attacked me because I was beating the crap out of it because it was killing my dog. And I said, I was going to shoot it anyway because I couldn't get him to quit. You know, I said, I was just going to pull the hammer back, put it against his head and kill him. But I said, when I hit him, that was the last time I hit him, he come after me, so I had no choice. You know, as I was down on the ground, he wasn't going to let me up.
Right.
So, you know, he told me, he said, it is what it is, and it's happened the way it's happened. He said, you're in the legal limits, you're in the street, your dog's on a leash, and, you know, you were protecting your dog and yourself. He said, so as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing that can be done about it. It's a done deal. He said, I'll dispose of the dog and we'll call it good. And that was it. He called his buddy to another officer to come out, and if I need to, he said, do we need to fill out an animal report or anything? He said, no, because I didn't have to go to the hospital or anything. He said, wasn't really no need in doing it. He said, the dog's dead, and he said, if it'll attack you, it'll attack someone else.
Absolutely.
So he said, it probably needed to go. So anyway, what he said. So he said, hey, you're good, man. Glad to meet you. See you later. And that was the end of it.
Wow.
So, but they did tell me, they said they've seen bigger dogs. I told him about 2 other dogs I'd seen in the neighborhood. He said, yeah, Mike said he'd seen them 2 dogs. They don't know who they belong to. They don't have collars. And I said, and I talked about this on the last show. The next door neighbor said, well, do you know who owns those dogs? I said, no. He said, well, I'm not letting my kids out in the front yard anymore. Because he said they're 2 pit bulls, and they've been seen in the neighborhood late at night.
Yeah.
Now this dog come out of nowhere. I didn't see him till he was on my dog. So he evidently, like you said, might have done this before, and he was hiding back there in the bushes.
Well, that's just it. Some of these dogs, when they start, if they've attacked other animals, that wild side instinct starts to kind of come back. And what happens, it's kind of like their little hidey hole where it's kind of like their little lair. And so he may have been hiding in a particular area that he always hides in, or rests in, if you will, and that is a kind of a cover spot for him, and he can best attack in that position. And that's what happens in the wild.
Yeah.
They have their lair, and if you get too close, it'll come out and snatch and grab prey.
He was perfectly camouflaged because I didn't see him. I mean, I didn't even see him make the attack. I mean, of course, I was in the street, watching for cars. And all I seen was the flash out of the left corner of my eye, just a little bit of brown, and then I heard him. He grabbed Marshall and had him down on the ground. I mean, and then I couldn't believe it was going on. But this happens in slow motion, like you said.
Yeah.
But I had already cocked the gun and made the shot, and didn't realize I'd done it till it was over. So it was It's automatic, from training. So.
Well,
but even the officer said, he said, it's a good thing you had that pistol, because if you hadn't had it, we'd probably be transporting you to the ER. Because a dog like that, when it's that vicious, you're going to get bit. It's going to get you.
And if it hits a vital artery, in the neck, if he was going for your throat,
he was trying to rip my throat out.
Man, I tell you, that's a close call.
Well, I couldn't believe he didn't bite my arm, because I had him by the chest, holding him back.
Right.
Threw him back once, and he came right back after me. He jumped on Marshall again, and then, I kicked him from the side, and then he come back after me again, and then that's when I pulled the gun and killed him. I mean, I already had the gun in my hand, but I just went ahead and thumb cocked the hammer, and I mean, I never even had one in the in the
chamber,
in the tube, but it was already had a round chamber, but I didn't, 1911, you got to cock it and lock it, but I didn't even have the gun cocked. I never even cocked the gun until I was down on the ground, But at that time, when I saw the lethal threat on me, then I've killed him. So, and the officers, they just looked at it and they said, well, it's a good shoot. All I can say is the dog shouldn't have tried to attack you, because if he'll come on you, he'll get on somebody else. And so, the police force here, at least our police officers have enough brains. They see something like that, they know. They're not, these guys were professional about everything.
Exactly. Yeah. Did the lady that owned the dog ever come out?
No, I never talked to her, and Mike told me, he said, I don't even want to tell her that she didn't know that the dog got on me, because she was already way upset. He said, I just told him he attacked your dog and you had to kill him. So he said, probably just better not, you didn't want to upset her anymore,
Sure.
And I said, that's cool, that's fine. And I said, I felt really bad having about killing their dog, and it was like her kid, he said. I said, go to the pound take her down to the, the rescue thing and find a dog down there, and I'll buy her another dog. I said, I'll pay for it. I don't care about that. I said, I'm sorry I had to kill the dog. I said, I'm not, and like he said, you're not driving up and down the road looking for dogs to shoot. I said, no, nobody is. I said, I got my dogs, and I don't want nobody doing anything to them. But I didn't start down that road to kill him.
Right.
He's the one that chose this avenue, so I just had to finish what was there.
Sure.
But this can happen to anybody. I mean, if it can happen to me, and we talked about this.
Absolutely.
So what can and then there's another boy. My mom told me that the other day when I was up visiting her, that some boy got attacked by a pit bull, and he got bit a bunch of times, but he's going to be all right. And then the lady down in Oklahoma City that was killed here just before the other show.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then my mom brought some other things to my attention. She said, well, you and Lance have been talking about this stuff. She goes, do you remember a lady that was a family friend back when I was younger? And I called her Beverly, or B. I called her B, but my mom and dad, Beverly was her name. She's friends with my mom and dad, and her and her husband. And she was attacked by a chow dog at her house. Going to work one morning, she opened the car door, and this dog come out of nowhere and attacked her. And she finally beat it off and got into the house, and she died later from complications to that dog attack. So I didn't even know that till my mother had brought it up,
Right.
And then I just got, when you're thinking about some of these things, you don't think about every single thing that you have encountered. But we had a guy that I worked with when I went to work for this place I'm working at now. He was a bench mechanic for me. And he always wore this do-rag around his head, and he had one ear gone. And so, I was overdone, and I asked him one day, I said, John, what happened to your ear, man? He goes, well, he said, told me where he lived and everything. He said, this guy across the road, he had some kind of beef with me. He didn't like me. He sicked 3 pit bulls on me. And they got him down and just about killed him in the front yard. He spent 6 or 7 weeks in the hospital. Intensive care. They had to put a steel plate in his head and a bunch of stuff. Took his ear off, and he was pretty chewed up, But come to find out later on, this kid that did this, I used to date his mother.
Oh, God.
Back in high school. Believe that or not. But, yeah, I just can't believe that, the way things are going with these animal attacks. In the last week, there's been 3 bear attacks.
Well, I know it. We talked about that, and there was 2 girls that were, I think they were doing some biological research
At a mine.
That's
in
right.
Alaska.
And they had bear spray, that high potency, expensive bear spray that you can get like at Bass Pro at some of these sports outlets, but it didn't work.
Yeah, she, the girl that lived, her friend said that she pulled that bear spray out and literally soaked him in the face with it, and that bear just came right on in and killed her.
Came back.
And, it ate her.
Yeah.
Came back and drug her off. And
that's right. The other ran off and came back, and that's what they found. Unfortunately, a very gruesome sight.
And then just the very next day, there was another attack in Alaska that killed another girl. And I don't know if bear spray was involved in that one. And then about this last week, let's see, was it Sunday? I think it was Sunday. I saw on the news where a kid in Colorado was camping. And he woke up, and this black bear had attacked him in his tent and was chewing on his head.
Yeah.
And he had, I don't know how many stitches in his scalp to put his head back together, but he's going to live.
And you know how he got away on that? Do you remember?
I didn't hear the whole report.
He said that it had his head in its jaws, and so he put his right hand up and felt where the eye was on the bear.
And poked his eye in.
And started sticking his eye He took his thumb and started sticking the eye of the bear.
Yeah, that would make him let go.
And that's what happened. He finally let go, but of course he was bleeding profusely from the skull from the multiple puncture wounds. And, we talk about this, not only because it happened to you and we talked about this, it's just that when people go investigating and doing their researching in the field, and I know there's a lot of folks that want to go, I know the reasons why. It's fascinating. It's adrenaline rush. It's curiosity. It's all those things wrapped into one, which accounts for why we go. But when you go, you have to honestly know what you're doing when you go out. Just don't take a camera. Just don't take a knife, although that's important. You have to know the area, the topography, the geography, what animals exist in the area, and plan for the unexpected. It may never, ever happen. But if it does, you're going to be thankful that you had contingency plans and backup plans. Because I know people are talking about getting a bunch of people and let's do a lot of research and everybody get in the woods. But I'm telling you, I don't think that's a good idea, because not everybody knows how to know what to do when they get in those woods. It can be a beautiful sunny day like it is right now. We're sitting here looking out the window. It's hot here in Tulsa. The sun is shining. You could get out there and think there's nothing out there but deer and raccoon. Aside from the fact of what you're trying to research on some squatches or some type of a dogman sighting, we'll get into that in a second. But I'm just saying that there's other things to be on the uppermost of your mind, and one of them are these dogs. That dog that attacked you didn't make a sound, did it? It
totally just silent till it hit my dog.
Till it hit you.
Till it hit my dog. Yeah. The only when I knew he had him was when I heard him growling. Marshall started yelping and crying. He was biting. He bit him through both shoulders. And of course, as soon as I did that, I drew my gun, and the first thing I did was hit him across the nose with it. And I tried a non-lethal method to get him loose. I didn't want to have to kill the dog, but he wasn't having it. He just pressed home the attack. He was just he was zeroed in. He was going to try to kill my dog. And if I wouldn't have waited very much longer. Even if he had to come after me and I couldn't have got him to turn loose, I'd have just put it in his ear and pulled the trigger.
You know what it reminds me of too, in some ways? That day we went on investigation out north of Tulsa, and we saw that hog. It was about 300 pounds.
Oh yeah.
What if we'd have had something on our hands out there if it didn't run and it started charging us? I mean, when you have a hog 350 pounds coming at you, it's kind of
there was two of them.
There was two of them too. I didn't know there was two till after.
Yeah. The teeth on them suckers were about 4 inches long. And it was raining that day. I was showing you the ranch up there, and we were driving around. They walked right in front of us. I was looking the other way, and you said, "Look at those hogs." And there they was. And I called that one back. He came back a little ways, but he didn't come. We didn't have a rifle with us, But we could have smoked them too if we'd had a rifle. But we were just driving around looking at the ranch. But these hogs are everywhere too. And I've talked to guys that had been laid open by these things. Had to go to the hospital and get stitches.
Well, that's it too, because they'll run by you, and it's kind of like a matador bull. They don't circle you. What they do is they start charging right at you, but they use that tusk and they gore
hook
that
you
head.
As they go by.
They hook you as they go by, and when they hook you, now remember, they've been wallowing in the mud and in their own feces, so they have E. coli and everything on those tusks, and who knows what they've been eating. And if they hook you, then you've got a cut now, a deep cut that you've got to get cleaned immediately. You better have a game plan. Basically, what we're saying, whether it's a hog, is going to behave different than a wild dog. It's going to behave different than a pack of wild dogs, which is going to behave different than, say, a squatch or anything else. You just got to know the animal. You got to know the terrain.
You seen where we were right there. There's nowhere to get up. You can't get up no tree. No. There ain't no tree.
No, you're in the open.
You ain't got a pretty good sized weapon with you. You're going to have problems, and I mean big ones.
Well, and that's it. And, one thing is that it's one thing, what we're talking about here, Dave, to have a firearm, and which is important to us. But it's another thing entirely to know everything you can about that firearm. Don't just buy the firearm. Know the firearm. Know its mode of operation. Break it down. Learn how to clean it safely and properly. Take it out to the firing range. Go with some people. It's really fun to go out and safely shoot your firearm. Get to know it. You're going to put hundreds of thousands of rounds, I'll say, and I want you to chime in here. After how many rounds would you say should someone shoot the firearm before they really get to know it?
If you don't put 500 rounds to it, you don't know anything. You don't know nothing. You don't know the function of the gun. If it malfunctions, you got to know how to get it back into action. You know, I mean, you got to be able to clear an automatic. You got to know how to clear the thing. You got to know how to get, if it like a 1911 or a 9mm, if it stovepipes around, how you going to clear it? You got to, you know, most people, they start playing with the slide immediately. You know, I mean, you got to drop the magazine before you can get anything to happen. So they have to go through a procedure to do that. They call it a tap rack bang. You know, procedure. Military law enforcement teaches you that, but in a high stress situation, you're gonna remember to do what you did in training. See, like when I shot that dog, I don't remember cocking the gun. I don't remember cocking it at all. It was automatic, bang. That was it. It happened, and I hit him dead center, blew his heart out, and that's because I practiced. You know,
right? Well, you practice under stressful environment.
Right.
That's
I've had
why
drill instructors screaming at me, screaming at me in my ear. You know, the highway patrol instructors or whoever we're working with. You know, them guys, they want to induce stress to see how you function under fire.
Exactly.
Because, like I said, a 100% shooter goes to a 60% shooter in a high stress situation, and that's everybody. They don't just ain't us. I mean, it's even seasoned law enforcement officers. You know.
Well, I think that's the caveat I really wanted. I mean, I wanted to get you on after this just happened, and it correlated so much to the previous episodes that we had talking about these dog attacks in the wild, in the city, but also the caveat is really when you get a firearm, please get to know it. Get to know it means you know how to break the gun down and clean it safely, and that you go out and actually use it. You actually go out and target shoot. It's fun to go out with some people and do this, of course, emphasizing safely, because I'm telling you, if you're just new at learning how to shoot a firearm and under stress, this is why when we see shootouts with the police and the bad guys robbing a bank, and there's 153 shots fired from one officer and 210 from another officer, and all these shots fired, and the bad guys only get hit twice because everything is under high stress. When the adrenaline is rushing, you're completely off your primary target.
Well, it's like these guys, when I worked with them, the military guys, you know, the instructors and FBI, highway patrol and stuff, they always tell you cool heads prevail in a situation like that. You know, you got to think. There's something. Let me go back to the 1800s. Wyatt Earp, when they interviewed him before he died, and I read that interview, and that guy said, "How did you get in so many altercations and all these cow towns and stuff with these gunfighters and stuff, and you come out without one bullet? You never got a scratch." He said, "Because I learned to do two things. I knew that I had to keep a cool head, and I needed to aim." Aim. He said, if you don't aim, you're just shooting lead through the air. He said, those guys were shooting all around me, and every time I pulled the trigger, somebody went down.
What is your primary mission of why if you have to pull that firearm, it should be instinctive. Now, folks, that's going to take a lot of practice to do that. Wiley Dave's had thousands of hours of training, years of training. I don't expect everybody to get to that level, but you've got to put some rounds downfield at a target, at a place that you can go, somebody's land, a friend, someone that knows firearms. It's best if you can get with someone that knows firearms a lot better than you, so they can coach you and train you with the safety procedures. Or they have indoor shooting places that have people that are very experienced marksmen, and they can go through and you can take classes. But we just say this here because we want everybody safe. I know there's a lot of folks that want to go out and do investigation, and, you know, to each their own. But please go out with a plan. Be safe about it. You want to come back home with your legs and arms intact. and your life. So you never want to go out. The other thing here is that you never want to go out by yourself. You always want to go with at least another partner or a group of people that they themselves, that they know about safety procedures, they know about the terrain of the area, and you all have a game plan. If this happens, this is what we're going to do, right? If this happens, this is what we're going to do, right? I mean, that's what we talk about all the time.
Well, I don't know if some people don't pay attention. A lot of people don't watch the things that you and I watch, or other some of the military guys watch. But when you watch like the SEALs or some of these shows, they show a few things that they do. But you always see one guy's on the line and he's firing. Okay, the other guy leaves out, and they leave out one at a time. But there's always a gun covering the back trail. There's never a weapon that's not pointed back towards the bad guys while the other guy's leaving. And they do that as a domino effect, rolling out, what they call that. Okay? And that's what you got to do. And everybody, if you're going in there as a team, everybody has to know his job. You got to know, okay, if we encounter this and it wants to get stupid, this is where I'm going to shoot. This is what you do. And if everybody does their job, you're going to go home.
Exactly.
But there's no way that I wouldn't drive my truck 5 feet in the woods without some kind of a weapon. I'm not doing it no more. Now that I know what's out there, I used to. Of course, you did too. We'd walk down through the woods in the dark with a freaking compound bow in your hand, go climbing a tree stand, and not even think twice about
Exactly.
it. There's no way I'll do that ever again. Ain't gonna happen. I'll either have a 12 gauge with slugs and buckshot, or that 44 Magnum is gonna be with me. If the game warden don't like it, all I can tell him is just too damn bad. Because they know what's out there. They know.
Well, and they know what's out there, yet they can't tell us. And so it's one of those things where and that gets me to the term police. The term, it identifies an occupation of people that protect and serve us. But also the term policing means to me, they're policing the area after the crime is committed. And I don't want to be subject to being a victim of an incident that happened when I could protect myself so it doesn't escalate to a level where I lose my life or I'm put in jeopardy or safety. I want to have something on my side.
Well, any law enforcement officer worth the salt is going to tell you that they can't be everywhere. They're just like this deal here. They couldn't send an officer because they didn't have nobody to send at the time. Tulsa's gotten to where, hey, when the sun goes down here, it's like Dodge City. It's the Wild West anymore. So everybody now, you're in title of your own safety till they can get there. That's it. And they'll tell you that. Hey, you're going to have to handle the situation till we can get there. And you're responsible for your family and your own well-being. So if you don't have a weapon, you can't defend yourself, you're going to be a victim. That's all there is to it. And that's not talking about bad guys. That's talking about in the woods. Just like you said, you could be walking down a trail and everything's great. You go around the bend there, a rock or a tree, and there you got a black bear staring you down. Or what are you going to do if it's a dog man?
And that gets into when we're going to deer camp here soon. It's coming up October 1st. And one rule that we all agree, we get in a huddle when we get there to our camp. We start clearing the area for the campsite, leveling it out, getting rid of rocks and branches and everything. But after we get done, we set up for that evening, we all get together and we say, okay, here are the rules. Everybody is to carry a sidearm with you at all times. Everyone that is an adult. And all the adults have had proper firearm training, but I don't care if you're going to the John. I don't care if you're going to the creek. I don't care if you're just cooking. Everybody carries a sidearm no matter where you're at because of we don't know what's going to come into camp. And then we have our group shotguns near we have a central area, so anybody can have access to the shotguns. I don't know, we had enough firepower there last deer season, but if a game ranger came up, and in fact we had one come up, and if they asked, I'd just say, hey, look, I know what's out there. And of course, I know in my mind what I'm talking about, but he's probably thinking bear or whatever. But even black bears are unpredictable, just like those two young ladies.
They're going to deny it. They know it's out there.
Oh,
they all want to deny it. You'll never get one to say it's there because they're told not to.
Well, exactly. And The dog that you fought off and shot was 70 pounds. That's 70.
Yeah.
I had a guy that I interviewed the night. Well, it was the night you called me. He was out of Tennessee, and we're going to post that episode soon. And the way he described it, he actually saw this years ago. It was next to his house. He said it was running with a pack of coyotes, and he didn't know what it was at first. But now, in retrospect, he said, Lance, I think I saw a juvenile dogman creature. And I said, well, what do you think it weighed? He goes, it was small compared to some of the ones that I've heard on your show and other shows. This one only went about 350 pounds. So you fought off a 70-pound chow. What would happen with a 350-pound to 500-pound dogman after somebody? I think that fight would be over in a few seconds.
Yeah, you better not have no 9mm in your hand. That's all I can tell you. You better have something better than that. I'd prefer the 44, the 500, or a shotgun.
Right.
With slugs, that's just what you got to have, and you got to know where to shoot them. These things, you can't shoot them in the chest and stuff like people think you can. It's that game's over. You got to go for the head or solar plexus down lower, preferably the back area.
Well, and here's the thing: the guy said that when it took off, he didn't know what provoked it taking off so fast. He said it took off so fast, and it took off the trail. It was going right in uncharted timber, and it went down into the valley and ran up the other hill, but it was still, the brush, the canopy was still low enough he could still track it going across the other hill. He said it was the fastest thing he'd ever seen running away, that the coyotes couldn't keep up with it. He said it probably cleared about 350 yards in a matter of, he said maybe 10 seconds or less.
That's about what mine did. You remember me telling you how fast it was. I couldn't believe it. But people that ain't seen one of these, they still think. I've had people say, man, you're smoking crack. I said, hey, I'll tell you what you do. Get in the truck with me, and let me go call one of these in, and you tell me I'm smoking crack. I said, you'll be the one smoking crack when you get home.
Exactly, just to forget what they saw.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, these things are out there, and I can call them up. And so the deal is, we're going to see another one. We're going to see them, and
well, I know we're going to see it. In fact,
people don't want to see Dogman. I hear these Sasquatch guys. Oh, we don't want no Dogman. But I've seen some I'd be more worried about them Sasquatches than I would a Dogman.
Well, that's the way I feel too. Is that
they like to gang up on you?
That's just it. They like to gang up on you. Where Dogman, they tend to be sometimes. I've heard stories and encounters on other shows where there's been a huge pack of them. But when it comes to Sasquatch, they like to call the other guys in.
Yeah, but if you got it, and people need to understand, we're not out there trying to be bloodthirsty. We're not out there just saying, okay, we're going in the woods as a fire team to smoke them. But if the Sasquatch ain't throwing rocks or ain't being retarded, we're just going to look at them and take pictures if we can and let them go on about their way. But we're not going in there to try to blow them away.
No, not at all. Not at
all. But I ain't putting up with none of that stealing everything from camp and throwing rocks in the campsite and throwing trees down and all that. They start that business. Well, that's a whole nother scenario.
I don't know at what level of bluff charging do you accept.
There ain't going to be no bluff charging.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Charge me, the next scenario is lead. I mean, I don't bluff charge. I've had too much stuff happen to me. Coyotes, running in and attacking me. And the other night I was watching TV on the History Channel, Mountain Men.
Yeah.
And the cameraman was attacked by a bobcat. Oh yeah. The dogs had the cat on the ground. The dogs were attacking the cat. He jumped on the dog handler, and then he jumped on the cameraman.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
I bet you
Oh, yeah. It got exciting there for a minute.
Wow.
Now, imagine if that would have been a lion.
Well, there's no way. Yeah. That'd have been a problem.
Oh, yeah.
That'd have been a big problem.
And see, people will say, well, they don't do this or they don't do that. Well, that dog never attacked people either, but he attacked me.
I would like to say it's not going to happen again around Tulsa, but it happens all the time.
There's dogs all over this town. Everywhere I drive, I see dogs trolling around. You'll see them get together, and I mean, just all you got to do is just go on YouTube and put dog attack in and watch what happens.
Yeah. I told my son, he runs at night, late at night, because it's cooler. Because right now it's been about 105 on the heat index here in Tulsa. And I told him, he runs at night, and I said, look, I don't mean to scare you, but in a way I do. I said, our neighborhood seems fairly safe. It's not a gated community or anything like that. I said, but listen, I want you to really take something with you when you're out running. And I'm even considering just running in a different location where I know that there's not going to be any random dogs coming off of the country, because we're just close on the east side of Tulsa out there in the wooded area. So, I'm just concerned for not only my family, but other people that are out there, because there's no way anybody could have fought off that dog had they not had the 45 or at least some firearm in their hand like you did that night.
Yeah, I mean, if that would have been a little kid.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of little kids in that neighborhood, and I see older people, walking. And the other day, we rounded the corner there, and there was a older lady, and she was walking out by herself. And I told Sarah, this is after it happened. I said, what would she do if she encountered that dog? I mean, that dog would kill her. That's it. Before anybody could get there. There was a guy mowing the yard 4 houses down. The whole time I was fighting that dog.
That's...
and nobody came out, nobody came around, nobody did a damn thing.
That is so crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think people are scared. They don't want to get involved. They don't.
Well, I was going to say, it's almost like if I didn't see it, if I just ignore it, then I'm minding my own business, and then it'll leave me alone, or he'll leave me alone, or the situation will be avoided. And that's what was really bizarre when you told me that really no one came outside, no one said, are you okay?
The thing that got me was, though, here we were talking about this, trying to warn other people, and then it happens to me 100 yards from my house.
Yeah. It didn't happen.
And I never knew this dog was even there. I never seen that dog, because I go down that street every day when I come home from work. Never seen that dog outside ever. And it just come out of nowhere. It was, like you said, it had a plan.
It had a plan.
What was funny, the officer said, well, Dave, think about it. Look, it's a full moon. He said, probably had a demon in it. I said, it might have.
Man, who knows? Who knows? I mean, that's not out of the
I know when full moon, they say canines get, the ones that's stupid in the head get stupider. So he's right about that. Yeah, I've seen some crazy stuff when I was on the fire department when it was a full moon. But
I'm sure you have.
Yeah, but everything goes up, and police officers will tell you that work the night shift is everything's more intense than night. The patrols are going to be more intense every night the moon's full.
Sure. Well, I'm just thankful you're okay, man. I'm thankful that you don't have any lacerations, and you didn't break a hip or crack your neck, or...
I think I might have cracked 2 ribs when I hit the street. I might have fractured them. I'm pretty sore, but that's going to be from fighting the dog and the adrenaline, all of a sudden, and it's going to be like that for there too. But people don't realize that. I mean, they don't think, like you said, they want to go out into the woods and they want to do all these things. Well, that's fine and dandy, but if you go out there without a weapon, in my book, you're an idiot, because the law of averages, if you running into something, look at the time we've been together and look at what you've already seen with me. I wouldn't take my family anywhere without a weapon nowadays.
Right.
It's just, and that officer told me, he said, hey, this is the world we live in now. This is it. This is the world we live in. So you got to take care of yourself until we can get there.
That's it. They come at the last.
He said, if we're busy, it's going to be a while.
Exactly. Well,
they don't have enough men to cover everything.
No, that's just it. They don't here, and it's probably across the nation. We see all this crime and everything, but Tulsa's no different. I mean, we don't have enough men and women in our police department because of budget cuts and whatnot. So, I mean, get ready to wait just a little bit. So you got to take care of yourself first and be smart about it. Have a plan.
Yeah, you got to be thinking, because when I leave the house, when I walk out the door, the second I walk out the door, I'm a different person. I'm just a different person. I'm not thinking about welding. I'm not thinking about, Dogman or that, any of that stuff. I'm thinking about, okay, what can happen around the next corner up here? I'm in the combat mode, and I'm sorry, but that's how I've been trained, and I have to be that way. But if more people were that way, we'd have a lot less victims on stuff.
I agree.
And women jogging, you don't need to be afraid. You need to be ready. That's it. They don't need to be afraid of people, but if the woman's got a gun, she knows how to handle herself, and some guy jumps on her, hey, she'll be standing there to fill out the police report.
Exactly, and he won't.
And they'll haul him away.
Right.
Yeah. So girls don't need to be afraid. They need to be ready. They need to be armed.
And that's anybody.
If you go buy golf clubs and do you want to just be able to hit the ball across there, or you want to be able to play? If you want to be able to play, you're gonna get some lessons from somebody that knows what they're doing.
Exactly.
Okay. I didn't learn this in 5 minutes. I've been shooting all my life, but I always shot with somebody that could outshoot me, and that's the way I could learn from them.
That's a very good point made right there.
If you shoot people you can beat all the time, you're not learning anything.
No, you got to be pushed, and you need to be pushed, and to excel and to learn and to know how to use a variety of firearms, a revolver, semi-automatic pistol. Be nice to be able to learn basics on a bolt-action rifle, semi-automatic. So just a variety of firearms. So it's always good to get someone that knows a lot more. That's a very good point.
I've been inside some of these gun ranges in town here, and helping different ladies and stuff learn how to shoot and work their guns. And I've seen some stuff that'll blow your mind. These people go buy a gun and they think they watch TV and they think all of a sudden they think they're Dirty Harry. They need to go in there and spend a few dollars and get with somebody that knows how to work those weapons and show them, look, this is what you do. There's a right way and a wrong way. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know the right way, it's just if you pull that gun out and you're not willing to use it, you're probably going to eat it or they're going to kill you with it. And that's what's going to happen. So if you're one of these people that say, oh, well, I couldn't shoot nobody, then don't go buy the gun because it'll probably end up getting taken away from you. I'm not going to, I pulled the gun out. I had it on. I pulled it out and I already had it in my mind. If that dog don't let go, I'm going to kill him. I was going to shoot him in the ear anyway. I was about 2 seconds from doing that till he attacked me. So by that time, I'd already figured that it was going to happen, and it was automatic. The whole thing probably lasted 8 or 9 seconds total.
But like you said, it was just in slow motion.
Slow motion because your training kicks in, see? And the gun went off, and I shot him and didn't even know that I'd done it till the gun had already cycled and went off. And that's been the same thing if you had an adversary coming at you, somebody with a club or a knife or whatever. Well, I've been trained to draw the gun, and you say stop, and if they don't, you smoke them. That's it.
Right.
A police officer is going to start shooting 15 feet away because they can get to you with that knife. And it could have went the other way if I hadn't had, like the one officer said, it could have went the other way if you didn't have the gun. So it said, and, I was in the street, my dog was on a leash, and we were fully within the law. So it's not a deal where, go down the road and threaten every dog you see. I'm not going to shoot a dog if he runs up to me.
Well, of course not.
But if he attacks your dog or attacks you, if he's biting you or trying to bite you, you're going to have to do something. You can't let him lock on to you,
No.
But like I say, don't carry the gun unless you're going to use it, because if the chance that it ever happens, well, I couldn't kill an animal. Well, how do you feel about 200 stitches in your leg?
Or
because it's going to look like a chainsaw went up and down it.
That, or even worse. You could have this laceration, but you're talking secondary, what they call concomitant factors. You could have a bone infection derived from that. We all know. And
just like the lady I told you about, that my mom's friend that died later from complications from the dog attack.
Yeah, exactly. Well, again, I appreciate you coming on, Dave, real quick. I know you were at work today, and I cut my day short here so you could come to the office here and we could get this recorded while it's still fresh in your mind. And we care about you guys out there. And so when we were talking, Dave said, hey, we got to get this on. Let's go ahead and make this an episode, an exclusive episode, and get this out to you guys just to kind of let you know what happened to Dave and that this falls in line with what we've been talking about. I hope many of you out there at least take a little bit of this information and apply it to your life. Just think twice about certain things, and about when you go out, be ready. Be ready. Thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you. Dave's going to come back here soon. We got some episodes to kind of continue. We got some in the works here. We need to get posted out to you guys. So take care, everybody. Thanks, Dave, for coming in.
You bet.
And we'll be talking to you guys later on. Take care, stay safe, and stay alert.